Yeah, hello everyone. Good afternoon to all. So we just start the knowledge sessions. But thank you all to joining in. We'll just give a 1 or 2 minute to more for people to join in. People have just started entering into the room. So we'll just take 1 or 2 minutes for others to join in. Okay, thank you guys again for joining in and good afternoon to all. So welcome you all to another knowledge sessions from the Digital Fifth. This time again, we are going to pick up a pretty interesting, very relevant topic, which is on the program management. As we know that banks, NBFCs, fintechs have been driving lots of the transformation programs, and these are like complex in their nature, right? So, but you need to run this kind of the programs, you need really a very strong program management structure in place. So that's where then me and Vanshika will gonna talk about it. Let me just pull up my presentation and then we'll just run through. I hope you all can see the screen. So that's where the knowledge sessions, program management for large transformation programs in BFSI, right? Which could be one single program or it could be combination of the projects. Myself, Shashank Shekhar, and I've been joined by Vanshika. So I've been part of the Digital Fifth for the last 5 years. Before that, I've worked with L&T Infotech, Wipro, and then in the DCB bank, that where I was responsible for digital banking, open banking, IT infrastructures, as well as IT governance. In the entire my career, I have been a kind of program manager only, where that I've been driving and running large scale of the programs. And here also in the concerning at the Digital Fifth, I've been involved into working with the banks and banks and the fintechs to run their some of the complex programs. So that's the briefest or intro from my side. I'll request Vanshika if you can introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, I'm Vanshika Agrawal and I've joined Digital Fifth a year back. And within Digital Fifth, I've went into different projects where I've been a part of program management into large banks on different projects as well. And I've also helped fintechs into making their projects go successful. So that's about me, where I am right now driving a project where I'm doing a program and a product management for a large and leading bank here. So would be a great insight from my side as well to tell you all how it is actually going currently and how things are happening.
Thanks, Vanshika. We are looking forward. So today's agenda, that what we try to understand that what constitutes the digital transformation programs, why that program management is critical for running the digital transformations, right? We'll try to also understand what are the typical nuances and challenges that you need to be worry about it. What it goes into a project management, like what are the different components is there? Very important. What are the critical success factors you need to be cognizant of, which any program managers need to have that. You need to be always very careful about it. So that's where that we'll talk about, and some of the manager traits, like typically in day-to-day life of the PMO, when you are running in a strategic initiative, what are the things that you should be focusing on? So before that, I start just a couple of minutes. Many of you maybe joining over the first time. Some of you already knowing us, but just a very short introduction. We are Asia's first digital fintech consulting firm. We are very focused on the purely on the BFSI, where we work onto various digital advisory services, which may over from the digital product management, design of the product, building the journeys, the benchmarking of your product and the journeys with the market peers, as well as running the digital programs for your transformation initiatives. We also have open banking services where we help into building the neo banking platforms or helping on the embedded finance kind of services, or build a go-to-market strategy for fintechs, or it be API benchmarking. We do lots of work with the fintech and startup, again, from the product to the GTM areas that we help work with the fintech and startup. We do lots of the work on the technology advisory, where that either we are doing the technology due diligence for any investors that would plan to invest into the fintechs, or it could be the internal organizations trying to relook their technology stack, and we do a technology diagnostic review, as well as able to run the technology transformation programs, including that helping organizations in identifying an evaluation of any technology stack, be it LOS, be it LLMS, CPS, or any kind of the platforms. We do lots of work on the risk and compliance services, where that we help the banks, NBFCs, or also from the fintechs to understand the compliance requirement for various master direction, which comes time to time, help them to compliance review, build a control framework, help into ISO 27001 or any kind of standard certification that we do that. And we do lots of the research and content management services, where we write a market report for the customers who are looking for. Many of you might have access to our recent report that we have released for the Chiradai venture, which was completely in a deep report on the enterprise fintech. If you have not got it, you can visit to our website and you will be able to download that report. It's very comprehensive. It gives you a complete landscape of technologies within the BFSI segment. There is a snapshot of our customers. We are always thankful to our customers for having a trust in us. This is just a snapshot. We are very closely connected with the networks with 25,000 emailers, and many of you may be receiving our emails, which we try to keep on writing on the contents. We know most of the market leaders, and we continue to be on building on the contents. And knowledge session is also one of the part of the same. We do lots of the corporate training. So where we work with a company like Google, JP Morgan, Flipkart, HSBC, Union Bank, where that we have trained across all the different topics which have been listed there, be it on the middle management layer, or be it on the senior management, or even the board level. So that's where we do the training services. So that's all about our introduction side of it. Now we immediately jump into the program management and the web knowledge session for which you are here, right? So why suddenly digital program management has become a very focus areas, right? Because organizations have been driving in the digital transformation in a large scale in the last 7-8 years, right? And it continued to happen. Banks have been rolling out of the new platforms. Banks have been going into the adoption of the new technology. Banks are working to cross that various bank fintech partnership kind of a structure. So all are kind of a very strategic initiatives, right? So digitization has been continuing to increase. Partnership is continuing to scale, right? So banks have been, there is an increase in the mobile application. There has been increase in the use of the analytics or the cloud computing kind of a structure, right? Banks are building the different AML use cases and all of the digital transformation initiatives which banks are running, right? Banks have been adopting SaaS-based platform. It could be either in the loan origination system, it could be CRM, it could be core banking also many of the banks are looking for. And these are really on a large scale programs, strategic initiative to support your digitization. So that's where that you need to have a very strong program management structure. Let's try to delve a little more deeper into that. What are the different transformation projects? And this is just a snapshot, right? Either you may be having a digital strategy and you're rolling out a digital strategy, you are implementing the digital strategy. These are all that fall into the transformation projects, right? And it could be a single project or it could be combination. You may be completely digitizing your LOS LMS, right? Or multiple LOS LMS implementation. API, open banking, most of the banks, NBFCs is trying to scale their API stack so that they can do the more partnership, they can do more of automations. Try to improve on the digital experience, building an UI UX kind of the projects to improve the customer engagement across your different channels. And then BFSI across different transformation, wealth programs, you are trying to build that all your digital products. So these are the different transformation projects could be there. Largely also the strategic partnerships. Let's say, for example, Federal is doing a tie-up with the Jupiter to launch a new bank. It's a strategic partnership. It's a large programs, right? Driving the organizations to upscale their business. Omni-channels, bankers trying to rebuild their entire digital engagement platform. So all just giving an example, the snapshot of the large program. What is resulting into that? What are it involved to the organizations? All this transformation projects, if you look at it, trying to help you to integrate with the different apps, the data elements, and the processes. And why we're talking about, that's where the subsequent slide you will go to understand that why having a strong program management is critical. It allows you to streamline your operations, not only at the front end, but the back end. So any transformation project you launch, you are not only looking at that how the customer engagement or sales force engagement is going to improve, but also you're trying to look at in the completely back end operation. What are the automation that it helps you to derive? So that's where that all the projects is helping you to improve upon your operations capability. It allows you to all this program project that you are looking at, it helps you to adapt to the market's demands much better. It's allowed to give you the flexibility to respond to market demand for any new product. Like, for example, if you have to build in a very strong APIs capabilities and lending capabilities, and if the some market initiative come like UPI and credit card, it allows you to respond it better, right? So launch a new projects which can allow you to launch the products on the UPI and credit, right? Digital transformations have also been helping the organizations to build a better customer relationship as well as a trust, because customer expectations are there that your services should be available on a mobile banking. Customers are not very fond of the visiting to the branches, especially I'm talking about the retail side of it. When the MSME also may not like to visit branches quite frequently, they would like to see that they are able to serve better on the mobile banking. Better your digital capabilities, better your digital transformation program, it helps you to improve upon your brand reputations, right? And coherent reporting and compliance. Not only these transformation programs help you to the customers, your business, but also on the regulatory compliance side are the much better, right? So these are like transformation program, and that's very important to the organization. But look at that, why then you need to have a very structured, strong program management to run this transformation program. For this, I'll invite Vanshika to talk about that. How does it, why the program management contribute to make this program successful? Vanshika, over to you.
Yeah. So why we need a program management for digital transformations? Because program management gives us a structured approach to move on into things and to run the program in a very better manner. The programs could be, for example, multidisciplinary requirement. You can have different stakeholders to talk to. You can have your, for example, the tech team has to talk to the credit team, the product team. All of those have to integrate together and discuss things to get into the program on the right manner, which would require a sense of program manager to handle that, and the management will help them move into the line of what are being thought and how to make that program very successful. Again, the programs are very time sensitive. We have thought that we'll go live within 3 months, we'll go live within 4 months, we'll have to adhere to it, we'll have to disciplinarily follow the go live, or we'll have to follow the timelines that we are working on into, because a project is a strategic approach. It helps the business grow. If we have delayed into the project, it will not help us succeed, it will not help the business grow as well. Now, any larger programs that we see within a bank or a fintech or a digital transformation happening forward is a strategic business initiative, either to improvise your LOS LMS platform, or either to implement a CRM, which are very large programs. And to handle those programs, you'll have to have a proper streamlined process. And being a streamlined process, you have a business attendance to it. You see that there is business to it, and you see it is a very large program to close on two things. If you do not work on a very streamlined manner and you don't see that the strategy as you have planned is going as per the plan, the program may fail. So that is why a strong program management will be required to move into a better success of the program. Now, for every program that we run to, we have opportunities in the program, we have resources allocated to the program, which is a cost to the program as well. If we overrun the cost, if we overrun the timelines, we are shooting on the cost, we are losing on to the business, we are incurring a cost for the company, and we are incurring a cost for the REs and the BFSI sector also, which could be a major portion for everybody to think, was this program initiated, was it a good move or not? So to keep everything on track, to work on a very streamlined manner, we need a very strong based program management and a team that can handle the program so that the program is successful for us. Now, when it is a strategic move, when the programs are very big and huge within a RE or within a bank or a fintech, we see that the management of the board has a very sight on it. They overlook on the program. They want to know the status of the program. They want to know if the program is running in the right manner or the not. And if we do not have it in the structured manner, if we do not go with the approach that we have decided on to, it will create delays. It will put us on the side that yes, this program is not going as per the planned way. This program is not being handled very properly. We need to see if the strategic move that we have taken, if we need to see that the business that we have thought of is going as per the plan or not. Are we losing a business? For example, if we thought that this program has to go live within 3 months of time, but it is 6 months and it's still not gone live, we have lost the 3 months of the business that we had thought of while coming into this program. We have lost on to the customer service that we might have thought of if we are launching a CRM portal. Our customers are not satisfied with us. So all these are the things that brings us into a notice if the program is not successful in any manner. Now, if it is a very large program and we know that regulators are very keen on moving everything to digital, everything to make the customer very satisfactory. Now, if the programs are not evaluated on the regulator front, also the regulators are seeing on it. They have a very big eye on it, that are the programs running into the right manner or not? Are we going into the right manner or not? So they work on, so we have to, as a program managers or program manager, we have to work on a various ways, saying that yes, we are going on the regulatory front, we are seeing everything, and the regulations, if they come and see that are we on the right manner or not, we are on the right manner. So that is why a very strong program management is required. So we can move to the next slide. Now, Shashank sir would already have told you about what type of programs that we can run on. Why is program management required? So there could be a fintech or a RE moving on to digital collections. They are trying to improvise their credit underwriting. They are trying to incorporate CRM. They're trying to incorporate payment gateways. They're trying to incorporate lending into their system. They already have a good tech stack into their system. They want to explore new opportunities within the tech stack. For example, an API integration, offline payments. So these are very digital modes where a fintech or a RE or BFSI sector can move into when they need a digital transformation. Now, what are the resources required for a digital transformation, where we have to work into so that the program that we are running on to is in the right manner or not? For example, a strategic team. Any program that is being built or set needs a strategic team to build the strategy of the program, to see if we are calculating the right profits, if we are in the right time, is the market trend visible to us or not, are we going with the industry trends or not? So that team has to work together to build the strategy of the program, and then monitor the strategy is working in the right manner. Or for example, the strategy that was built has few instances and we have lost onto the instances while implementation. The strategic team has to keep an eye on it, that yeah, we adhere to the strategy that we have built, and we work on the strategy, and the program is moved on in the same manner or not. There is a development and testing environment that is required because it is a digital transformation. The systems move from one process to other process, so the testing has to be done, and end-to-end testing environment has to be created for everyone to see that once we transform, we are into the right path or not. Are all the tech things in the right manner or not? Have we adhere to all the information security things? Have we adhere to all the processes that are there or not? Are the IT teams aware of all the things that we are going to do in the transformation or not? Then it comes on the financial management and budgeting tools. Any program which is being run has a budget. The BFSI sector creates a budget for a program, and then they run the program in that manner. For example, as I told, if we overrun the program, the costs shoot up, we lose on the opportunity, we lose on the business also. So to handle that, we need a team to sit and adhere to it, that the cost that we have decided is into the budget and the program is running into right manner. There is a product and business expertise team. Any program which is set would require business calls, would require product expertise calls. Being a program manager, you could not be an expertise, but yeah, you could also not be a facilitator to all the things. You'll have to understand the product. You'll have to understand the business that you're working into. A program manager should also understand that how things are being done and why are they being done. We cannot always just work on a basis that, yeah, this is being told, that is why it is done. To give your expertise, there is what is required. For a program manager to do things very openly and to get things done, communication and collaboration tools and skills are very much important. To tell people what to do and how to do it is what a program manager or program management should know. There are different tools that come. For example, we have project planners, we have Asana or Jira, which helps into the program management, helps us to understand what are the dependencies that are marked. There are program management tools, they are there to help you work into the program. For example, if we go into Jira and there's a task assigned, we'll have to complete the task so that we know that this task is dependent on going live, this task is dependent for the management to work on. Now, for every program management, there is documentation and knowledge important, because when you do not document anything, you can miss out on a lot of things. In a program, all the documentations and sign-offs are required for anyone to move into a go-live stage. The success of a program works in a way that you tend to keep everything documented so that the process, when you go live, anybody who's trying to understand the program and understand the process has a knowledge of it. For example, the BRDs that are created, the SOPs that are created within a program, the documentation which is done on the tech side of also gives us an understanding of how things move and how are things moving currently as well. Now, any digital transformation that you see cannot move forward without an InfoSec approval. So getting to know about the protection, security of data and everything, you need those knowledge within yourself. You do not have to be an expertise on everything, but cybersecurity as a knowledge is very important for a program manager and program management team to understand how things move forward and how can you understand to keep yourself within the security area so that you receive the approval and you can go live with the project. We can move on to the next slide.
Yeah. Thank you, Vanshika. So I'll pick it up from here. I think this is very critical, which Vanshika spoke about. Like sometimes we don't realize the importance of the product or business knowledge or the security knowledge as a program manager. So when you're running, having this understanding always is a good help, because it's also able to understand the challenges which may come as a part of the project's growth. Okay. Before I just continue, I request everyone that in case if you have a questions, you can put it in the question in the Q&A sections on the Zoom, and we'll keep on picking up the questions. Okay, so let's try to understand some of the challenges. I'm talking about the large transformation programs where that I think Vanshika keep on facing some of the challenges on a day-to-day basis when we are running some of these programs of the fintech partnership, right? One is definitely in a technology complexity, because we are talking about the digital transformation programs, right? It may have lots of the dependencies on the technology stack that you are running on the organizations. Let's, for example, you are trying to onboard a neobank, right? And neobank, you will require lots of the APIs, from saving accounts to fixed deposits to the lending to the card. And then the backend, your infrastructure where the core banking system or some of the card management system may not have the sufficient APIs, right? Or to consume those APIs from the expose those APIs. So then definitely it becomes a kind of a showstopper, right? So you may continue to find some of the complexities, right? Data migration related challenges could be there. That data might be in a very different format, and data which is need to be going to the next digital platform that you are looking into that. So that's kind of the challenges you may come across, right? Most of the programs that you will be running where that you will have a dependencies on the loss of the third party. Like some example, if you are trying to deploy a loan origination system, right? Try to digitize that whole your digital lending journeys. But today's era, if you look at it, building the digital lending journeys, you are trying to talk about various APIs providers, right? Be it on the KYC, be it on the bureaus, be it on the account statement, be account aggregator. So these are the providers that you will be talking to. Then you will also anyway partner with the LOS providers who is building the LOS. LOS may need an integration with the backend systems like the DDO, the AML. So you require to engage with so much of the vendors and suppliers, right? And any kind of the coordination gap can come, it can really delay the projects, right? It can have other much of the extraordinary challenges on your programs, right? So managing the vendor and suppliers is always going to be a very critical part of the program management. So vendor and supplier management, all kind of the digital transformation program are bound to go for change, right? Visualizing everything upfront, be it on the digital lending journey that you are trying to talk about, or you are trying to build in a bank fintech partnership for a lending product or the neo banking product, or you have to revamp completely your API platform. Visualizing all those scope timelines, maybe not, you may not get it right at the first step, right? So it can lead to a kind of the changes and continuous changes, frequent changes from the different stakeholders can continue to derail your programs, right? And these are the typical challenges one program manager continue to face, right? Say, for example, you have written the BRD business requirement document at the start of the engagement where the project has started. When you're running through with the different stakeholders, say compliance, the credit, the product, everybody start adding the value to that, right? So then suddenly your programs go for a toss. Like suddenly BRD scope A becomes the A plus plus, right? That will have a very much challenge on your program. So then typical challenges where that lots of the issues will keep on dropping within the organization. When you're running a programs, it could be partner related issues, it could be technical related issues. Some of the issues can become a bottleneck or a showstopper kind of things. And these again, the typically challenges that you may continue to encounter that. That's why typically one of the best practices is that you continue to run a proper issue management or issue register so that you can continue to identify and continue to work upon it. So issue resolution is another major challenges. And definitely last not the least, but there are many, but I think stakeholder engagement and alignment is largely very critical for digital transformation. Today context, if you look at it, any digital initiative is a business initiative, right? It's no longer a technology initiative or the digital initiative. It's actually a business initiative. And when you talk about a business initiative, then all the stakeholders, be it on the product, be it on the business, be it on the credit, be it on the operation, be it on the finance, everybody gets attached to that programs, right? So managing all the stakeholders becomes a very critical challenge for that any program manager. So managing all the stakeholders, their expectations, their requirement, their expectations is become very critical. So they are really high, big challenges that you typically encounter during any such large programs. So we understood, right? We get to know that, okay, why you require a good program management, right? What are the typical challenges that you face? What are the different tools required? But what makes any program effective, right? Because when you're talking about any programs to run, what defines a program as a successful, right? If you're able to get the desired results, right? So once you are able to get the desired result in terms of the outcome that you have been expecting, if you're getting the right outcome that as expected, when you get that, that's where that you call it a program successful, right? Gets done on the timely manner, right? Maybe 5% or 10% of the delay acceptable, but if it's on the 30% or it's a double the time that has been planned, is not acceptable, right? If the cost overrun was an exorbitant, right? It's a double the cost or 1/5 or 1.5 times of the cost is not successful, right? So you want the outcomes as expected to deliver, as expected in the timeline it has been done. It is delivered within the cost as well as the quality that I was expected. That's defined as the right programs to done that, right? So that's where that to get this desired result in terms of the outcome, the time and the cost, you need to have a right effective program management structure. And what are the constitute? Having a strong program governance. And what governance structure means, like there is a reporting layer which has need to be defined within that for each of the programs. Like, say, for example, there will be a project core teams which should have the representation from all the stakeholders. Even they may not have the role across the entire project, they may have the role as a part of the certain steps only, but they should be involved as a part of the programs. Like, say, for example, any digital program, the security team typically will come when they need to give a sign off. So they will come and do the assessment, and they typically come at the end of the UAT, right? Because before UAT, you can't do the security assessment. So they come at the last, but they need to involve them the day one. And that's where that it becomes very critical that program governance should have the good representation at every stage. So why, like the security example I'm taking about, and I'll take the extension, because their roles are very limited, but very critical. So when you're defining the requirement at that stage, why do they should not be able to share the requirement and what they are expecting, right? So strong program governance start with having a product core teams, and the second layer, the project management team, which could be at the middle management layer, who intervene at the right time with the right decision making, right inputs to the programs, having a kind of a day-to-day control mechanisms in terms of the time tracking, in terms of the cost tracking, right? But the last, very critical again, having a very strong steering committee structure. So that's where that I'm talking about the having a program governance, right? And which also involve not only that having this structure and getting these meetings on a timely basis, providing the right input, right information to the management. Like, say, for example, if you're running a core banking migration project, and if this CEO is not a part of the that steering committee, it may have not that kind of effect, right? Typically, because these are very organizations level of the where the programs can have an impact, right? So typically, the steering committee structure should involve that strong leadership. So program governance becomes very critical. So continuous reporting on the progress update, highlighting that what are the issues, seek the guidance that where any decision need to be taken, right? So program governance and communication is again part of the governance structure. Like, how do you send the daily updates and what the daily update should go, right? So people should know that, okay, what are my next actionable, where things are getting delayed, where it is getting a stopover, what needs to be moved parked for the later stage. These are some of the nuances that need to captured into the daily kind of the reporting. But these are the nuances you can't take it to the steering committee reporting, right? Or your weekly update reporting. So weekly update should have the more like summarize, but again, making sure that all the important elements get covered very well, right? Then earlier already spoken about the challenges of stakeholder alignment, right? So here that one effective program governance required having a good stakeholder participation in engagements, right? So let's say, for example, the steering committee have the 8 members, right? Typically all the senior management. Everybody may not come on the every steering committee, and they may not be involved on a day-to-day basis kind of the progress of the project. But should not you go and try to meet at the regular interval and continue to apprise them that, okay, this is the way programs is running, right? That's why typically we try to do that. Even that members have not been there, at least we go and try to apprise them that, okay, this is the progress, this is the where the challenge has been faced, but this is the way we are trying to solve it. So that's kind of the engagement that you need to have at a very regular intervals. I think continuous improvement and correction, course correction is again a very critical role of the program management, where that you continue to improve. Like, for example, you are doing a daily hurdles. Now, daily hurdles, you have 4 or 5 critical core members who are attending and discussing that what has been achieved last day, what are the agenda for the day today, what are the critical things that we need to close today, right? But suddenly you find that it doesn't have the representation because some of the members are not coming to the huddle or they have not been invited. You need to go offline and try to take a feedback and then bring it to the next day morning huddles that, okay, I spoken to the other guys at this state. But if that member is involved, why don't you get them into the huddle itself on a daily basis? So keep on looking into them, keep on improving upon your daily huddle, daily reportings. If certain elements are not getting captured, why you should not improve upon an update? So that's where that you need to continue, be it on the reporting structure, be it on your communication, be it on your education approach, continue to see that where you can improve, because some of these programs will be in the last programs like 6 months, 8 months duration, and these are long period. If you're continuously not improving, it can have a real detrimental effect. A strong leadership, very important, because I'll talk about the critical success factor where that this strong leadership becomes more critical. I'll talk about it. But at the same time, Vanshika has already spoken about that having a good project management tools become very critical because if you look at it, I'm talking about digital transformation program, which could be combination of multiple projects, right? Every project will have their own interdependencies, right? So, say for example, if one programs like LOS, again, I'm talking about LOS, where that you are streamlining your entire digital lending journey for personal loan, right? And it's need to go live. And it has to be full end-to-end STP process for the customer. But your AML solution is still coming up. You're also driving your deployment of AML solution, or you're deploying a dedupe solution. If the dedupe solution doesn't come live, or take the better example, like, for example, eNACH and eSign. So you never had an eNACH solutions. to sign the agreement digitally. And if you're driving that project also, your LOS may not be able to go live to STP process for the customer or mobile banking for any lending journey unless until your in-house projects also go live, right? So, but how you going to track? So, if you have a Gantt chart which talk about the interdependencies of each of the components on both the project, then only we will understand that okay, this is the dependencies and how the dependency you are able to solve in advance so that it doesn't impact your core programs timelines, right? That can only be possible when you have a good visibility through these project management tools, right? Then link to the program governance, make sure that the program and governance structure follow a very rigorous review. So review at that project team level, management level, where the middle management or the senior management. And when you take rigorous review, somebody should be asking the tough questions. Like say, for example, if the certain activities have been delayed by 1 week, there should be a very tough question that why it has been delayed, why not somebody should be made responsible for what was the issue that it has not been highlighted. It has to be real rigor that to figure it out that actually where the things gone wrong and what can be the course correction so that that 1 week delay should not get repeated, because once it becomes a trend and if there is no kind of the rigorous review mechanism, you will see that that trends continue to get multiplied and you will have a multiple delays keep on cropping in the projects, even though you may have all the where and vigil to control the delays, right? So review mechanism again is very critical for any program governance. And make sure that every staff and customer has been rightly communicated, because as a program manager, you are responsible for your internal stakeholder, which is your employees, as well as your customers, which is your external stakeholders, right? So these are the effective program managers. I'll talk about some of the success factors which that you need to worry about as we move proceed. But before that, I'll just take if any questions are there. Okay, so I have a question, but before that, pick up the question. I request everybody to share your feedback. Shakshi is putting the feedback form in the chat box of the Zoom. Please do share your feedback. Feedback is always helpful. Can you check the question is in the chat itself. So Rajesh is asking a question: how to keep the right records at the different stages when the project runs into the legal issues and claims are raised related to the project? This is a parallel inquiry for my knowledge. Okay, legal issues and claims can happen where that some, like for example, license issues or some kind of an IP issues have been taken care of. Typically, some of these programs may not have the legal issues, right? But legal issues can happen when you are partnering with a partner, extraordinary delays has happened, the partner is putting you on the task that, okay, legal clauses that okay, you're invoking the agreement, or you may be invoking the agreement to the partner because he has delayed the project or the project has completely failed. That kind of the scenarios, it can have multiple, right? Or if you have used that some kind of the licensing which has not been used in the right manner, it can be many things, or some IP rights have been compromised. So it is very important that all this communication that we've been talking about, like when the review records, the minutes, everything gets documented at each of the stages, right? So one is on your, so there is a project life cycle, right? Project life cycle where the requirement assessment is there. So we are writing the business requirement, you are creating your RASI matrix where that responsibility, accountability, consulting, informed, those RASI matrix very well documented. So that's the project cycle. BRD has been rightly written, and functional specification documents have been rightly written. So these are the project life cycles, the records that you will have. But as a project management records, you need to have a very clear minutes structure. Like say, even the project management where the different stakeholders, including the third party or the partners are there, you are discussing every elements. Your presentation, which you are bringing for the everybody to update, you are bringing all the elements, even in the conflict issues, because many times we try to hide those conflict issues. We think that we'll be able to solve it later rather than bringing to the steering committee, because the steering committee, the senior management may have a good relationship with the partner level, right? But that doesn't hold you to not apprise them about the conflict issues at the project level, right? So it's very important that you bring those issues in the steering committee, document, records it, that and what was the decision taken or what was the decision not taken, right? So these are some of the practices that you try to look at it, right? But it can go on long and long, right? So that's true. Sri Krishna is asking, what is the best mechanism for dependencies management? What if a dependency pops up at an API service level, which probably was overlaid during the solutioning? Okay, 100% dependencies you may not be able to find out, right? But it's always a best approach to try to identify as much as dependency as possible, right? So when you're writing the BRDs or when you're trying to define the tech stacks, try to look at from the journey perspective. I try to look at from the journeys. Let's say, for example, you have a building the LOS, or you're trying to build a payment infrastructure or the credit card system. Try to look at the journeys. And when I talk about the journeys, look at from the front end to the back end. When you try to plot that entire of the journeys from the front end to the back end, and also try to look at the interfaces, moment you plot it well, you will be able to lay down on a good set of the dependencies very clearly, which is going to be involved into whole of your programs to look at it. So that's one way to look at it. And it's also important that you try to involve the right stakeholders. When I say right stakeholders, like for example, in any journey where that you require multiple APIs to get involved, try to have the product guys, try to have the credit guys, try to have the security guys, because everybody will raise that. Let's say for credit guys, we say that, okay, for me underwriting, I require 3-4 elements. Like I require bank statement, I require the credit bureaus, but I require, let's say for example, GST data also. Now, if the credit guy has not been involved in the journey, and suddenly when it comes to testing, you require the GST data is not coming, because in the design you have not factored to capture the GST data itself. So these are the typical mechanism, that I would suggest that look at from the journey perspective and try to look at both the front end and the back end, plot it, and then map it to the APIs, especially since the example you're talking about the APIs, try to look at the dependencies that way. I know typically program management is such a complex that it may be very open, it is very contextual. So it may need to, it may not be answered absolutely as you may be expecting, but I'm just trying to give it a larger perspective, broader perspective to your questions. And please keep on question, because again, these are like most of the things we run as a day-to-day, because most of you guys are being a part of the running the program, and that's why you are here in the sessions, right? Meanwhile, I'll continue. Okay, some of the essential steps while I spoke about the project management, but this is very critical. Like at the design and rollout, that we put up the whole structure of the program management, lay down the risk management structure, how you're going to identify your risk, how you're going to communicate daily reporting, weekly reporting, steering committee reporting, how you're going to issue the reporting. You lay down the entire program management structure in place. And then you get on the action, right? You get into daily huddles, you get into that all the matrices that you have defined, data collections, meeting with the stakeholders, presenting the dashboards, performing the weekly steering committee, right? So that's where you start tracking and escalations, right? And at the same time, you start monitoring the results. Is that my timelines is correct? Are the effort variances or the schedule variances are in the control? Is the scope is in continue to align in the scope work that you have tried to do that? So measure the result and continue to celebrate the success. Like if you are running a digital program which has like 10 projects, different milestones, continue to enjoy the success as soon as things keeps on going live. Like many times we keep on fighting with each other on any projects, but when it comes to a moment to celebrate, we may miss out, right? So, but it's also important and learn through the process, right? It's also very important what things typically when the project goes live, everybody goes into they do the business and we forget that what has been learned, what could have gone better, what has worked good for you. These are the things that learnings need to be derived. Partnership input has to be taken, that what are the things that they feel that things should have been taken care of it, and which you can take it for those measures, you can take it as a part of the next stage, right? So these are the things. And mostly I've spoken about, but just a snapshot, a day-to-day life, how the PMO looks like, right? When you're running a program management office, running at 10 to 15, 20 projects across the entities, especially in the banks, it's a day-to-day, like you're continuously doing the planning, preparing the project plans, stakeholder meetings, task level updates that you will be taking. So planning hurdles. So daily hurdles, typically, if you're running 10 projects, you will be doing the 10 hurdles. Or your team members may be doing the huddles. Huddles are very critical, right? It's like brushing on a daily basis, right? So that at least every day you look at that what action, what we have achieved last night, which was planned or which have been missed out. So daily huddles help you to be in track of those activities. close as well as the plan, right? And also hurdles are very important to bring those some of the dependencies, because typically you may not be able to get some of the dependencies, but when you are having the hurdle, suddenly certain things which were supposed to happen yesterday has not been done. You will observe that there is what dependencies which nobody spoke about earlier, and now you are going to identify the dependencies. So hurdles is critical. Do the weekly governance, continue to monitor, perform the daily reporting, make sure that you have a good dashboard which gives you a complete clarity. Like, say, for example, some of the dashboard element can happen that where you're providing some kind of indicator that is the scope is continued to be in the state where it was in the last, or there has been any scope change, schedule has been going up or down, cost is going up and down. Sometimes there's a good mechanisms to a pictorial way to represent in the dashboard, right? And also very critical pointers that try to call out in the dashboard where that you want management intervention. It could be written in the red also, that where that you want everybody to bring the attentions to that. And continue to look at the risk. And risk, typically in the any programs, once you are starting the project, typically you are doing the risk exercise at the start, right? Because you are trying to visualize all the things which can go wrong during the project, right? Like somebody is not giving the inputs on the time, somebody is not performing the testing or on the time, documentation has not been done. So you try to visualize all the project related risk, but that doesn't stop there. You should continuously at regular interval keep on looking back to the risk register and see that all the risk has been getting mitigated, or there is a work in progress, or it is continuously is on the track to close the risk, or during the process have you identified or foreseen any kind of the new risk? Because and you don't need to wait for the any project scope changes happen, then only the risk has changed. It may not be, but risk can change because of the normal running projects also. So try to identify the risk. And the last not bit, the project manager are required to collaborate much better. So this is like a snapshot of the PMO. Now, the last piece which I want to talk about is very critical, not a theoretical part of it, but this is where that I have learned through my experience. This is what I have learned through our experience, right? Running through the large programs in the industry. When you are doing the requirement analysis, so one is that before the project start, partner get onboarded, you will have done some kind of a requirement study. But when the actual project start, the real requirement discussion start happening. So try to have as much as workshop, try to meet as many stakeholders as possible, so that you will thrash out the entire detailed requirement, so that tomorrow it should not happen that there is some requirement has come which can have a substantial good effect on the timelines or the quality of the projects, right? So thorough requirement exploration is very critical. I think decision making is a soul of the projects, because during the project you will come across at the many chances where some decisions need to be taken. It could be small, it could be the large. Like, say, for example, I was doing a migration program for one of the large transformation program, omni-channel delivery, and this involved the data migration. And certain portion of the data has some kind of the issues, right? Now, suddenly the situation comes that, okay, why don't we redo the testing, and we are looking at the go live planning and everything. And suddenly you are looking at that, no, we should relook at the data, because there could be some customer issues can come tomorrow. Now, whether you have to take a decision that, okay, you hold the project for another 2 months, or identify the problem statement, look at that, what could be the issues when the data get migration is as a state. What is the population size? If the population size is not big, you're not expecting large customer call, you may take a decision, okay, let's go ahead. Or you may take a call, right call that, okay, you may wait for certain time. But decision has to be taken at that moment, right? So it's very critical that decision making happens, and the empowerment that, okay, team members or the middle project management team levels should have the decision making, because some of the decisions can be taken only by the leadership, right? But some of the decisions can be taken. It doesn't need to wait for the steering committee to happen, or you should be able to get the time only the decision will happen. It could be the certain new licenses that you may have to procure during the process, right? But if it's required, it is required. But the team should be empowered to take that decisions. Dependency, I think the question was very prompt from the snare, right? That dependencies identification is very critical. So try to identify that as much dependencies as possible as a part of the project, so that at least in the project plan, you know that all the dependencies, what are the action that need to be taken to solve those dependencies, right? Again, as a program manager, like if you're talking about, it's very important to anticipate the future, right? What is going to happen in 2 weeks' times, right? So you know your project plan, you know that where that state that you are into that. But it's also important that you start anticipating 2 weeks down the line. Like say, for example, 2 weeks down the line that you expect the development to get over and the testing to start, right? Why do we wait for the 2 weeks to happen and say that, okay, if the resources or the testers not going to be available, the team has been communicated, but it could be possible that right state of the tester may not be available. So why don't you go and try to speak to the testing team that, okay, still we have time, but can I understand that okay, who is going to be part of the testing? Has a test cases started being writing, right? So you're visualizing, and this is a straight example I'm talking about, but it could be many other examples, right? So it's very important that to visualize 2 weeks down the line, 2 months down the line, that depending on the length of the project, and try to respond it better in the advance itself, right? So forward thinking, visualization, anticipation is again very critical. Very important key skills that you require to be a strong program management. Core issue management, I think we have spoken a lot. Project continue to have the issues, anticipate the issues, and try to see that okay, you're able to solve it. As a project management manager, you may not have the sufficient skills to solve the issues because it may be related to technology, it may be related to security, it may be related to credit. But are you the guys who are looking, or are you the PMO running, which primarily passing on the team that okay, this is the issue, please resolve and give it my feedback? Or you try to get that every stakeholder on the ground in the room and see that okay, this is the issue that we have reported. This may have an impact on the project. Why don't we sit together and try to solve and get it solved there itself, rather than just passing them through the trying to solve through the mails that okay, this issues has come. And the last, again, very critical as a PMO is the expectation that we need to have a very strong risk leadership in approach. Again, it's very linking to the forward thinking, anticipations, right? Try to visualize that what are the things can go wrong as you're looking into the futures, right? As part of your project, it could be some kind of changes, regulatory changes may be happening, regulatory security landscape might be changing, some kind of the new deployment is coming on the other side of the programs, which may have some repercussions. So try to look at that entire holistically and try to continually see that what are going to be the risks and have a transparent communication across the project management. Other than the cost, then try to keep every information on the table for all the stakeholders to see in terms of that what is the project status, what are the schedules, what are the issues are there, what are the open risks are there, try to have the communications. So these are some of the things that I wanted to highlight. We may not found it as a part of the book kind of things or as things that you learn. It is all only learned through the experience. So that's where there. So this was all about from our side. Last example that I would talk about that where that Digital Fifth was involved into one of the last transformation program for a bank. And why I say large transformation, it involved like the at least minimum like 40 to 45 individual projects, including a large like setting up the data center, doing the core banking migration from one platform to the other platforms, including the new debit card switch deployment, treasury application deployment, and then many of the applications. So customer was trying to move from one data outsource model to in-house source model, and which involve the multiple stakeholders across all the bank stakeholders, right? I will put it across in that way. And the program was delivered directly from the CEO's table, right? So steering committee updates. And so that's where that it was brief, where that we set it up the program structure at the state, started this project. And since there were 40 projects, we tried to look at the dependencies across all the 40 projects on each, right? Like, say, for example, core banking migration. So while initial the business requirement and BPD structure will be put, but before that, you set up the test environment, your data center has to come out. Because where are you going to do the deploy the test setup or the development setup? Because till the time documentation is happening, you're not bothered about the infrastructure. But before the data center has to come up so that you can start deploying. So that's when we looked at it. We built all the monitoring mechanism, communication plan, identified the project hurdles for each of the projects, as well as the overall project hurdles. So that's we built it. It was very comprehensive, and definitely it was an impact that we could able to do the transformation. This kind of the transformation in the flat 10 months kind of things. unseen, unforeseen kind of a scenario, but definitely we could able to achieve all these milestones, all these projects coming closer in one single time, right? So this is the play. I'll put up a stop. Again, request you to please give your feedback forms. Typically, we don't broadcast that these text to everybody who is registered or attended because it may not required. They may not feel that. But if you are interested, we typically give it to those who give the feedback form because we feel that they're looking for the deck. So if you are looking for the deck, please do share your feedback. Feedback is always helpful. Meanwhile, I can see one or two more questions are there on the things. Not much, but I thought Sneha was raising her hand. Was raising hand. But anybody wants to have any questions, feel free. If you can raise your hand, and we will try to pick it up. Yes, please. I think if you can unmute. We're still showing mute. Yes, if you can talk. You can unmute yourself and then you can talk. Meanwhile, anybody else has any questions, either you can put on the Q&A or you put it on the chat board. But again, request, if you like the sessions, if you feel that it was value to your skills as a program manager, or you can take in some of the inputs to your program, please do share your feedback. It always helps us to improve, right? We not be perfect, but definitely we know things a little better. Yeah. I've just got 3 feedback. Again, I request, please share your feedback. It's always helpful, and we will do get back to you. Share the deck with you. If no questions, but again, once again, thanks to all. Thanks for patiently listening to us, and hope we have added value to you. Thank you for joining us on next knowledge session. And keep watching our newsletter or the LinkedIn post for our upcoming knowledge sessions. Next week, again, we are coming with a very interesting topic and very timely again, where that you know that RBI has released the guidance note on operational risk management framework. So we'll be talking about that on the next week, and subsequently our team members keep on releasing the calendar, so you can keep it watch, and then please join us. But thank you again. Thank you very much.